Okay, hello and welcome to The Actor and the Engineer. My name is Paul James. I am the actor.
My name is Josh Knapp. I'm the broadcast engineer.
Here we go, Josh. I just have to let everybody know up front that I am sick. I got to get that out of the way, but the show must go on. It is our Oscar podcast. I would not miss this, but I am sick, so I do sound funny. And if you hear hacking and coughing, I will try to keep it to myself, but being sick, it's probably going to come upon me. So that's why I sound like Barry White right now. So I'm sick, but I'm excited. Thank you.
That's great. Well, you said you were sick over the weekend and you watched a bunch of movies. Well, I had a busy weekend too. I did some chores. I won an Emmy. I watched a bunch of movies.
Wait, what?
I won an Emmy.
Are you kidding?
Nope.
Are you kidding?
Nope.
Really?
Yeah, I won an Emmy for technical achievement. Yeah.
Oh my God. Congratulations.
Thanks. It's a regional Emmy, so it's for the Mid-South, but yeah, it's an Emmy.
Do you have it with you?
No, I get it in about 4 weeks. So, yeah.
Oh my God, like an Emmy statue is going to be in your house?
Engraved with my name and all that stuff, yeah.
I'm literally at a loss for words, and I'm never at a loss for Congratulations. I didn't even know that was happening.
Well, I've been nominated before. This is my third nomination, and it's the first time I've won. So, yeah. But
did you have like a big ceremony and everything, or is it just they announced it? And
they had a full-on like telecast like in Nashville. But I had some like church not requirements, but like I had to run audio at church on Sunday, and like I've lost twice before, and I was like, other people will be there. It's fine. It's not a big deal. So yeah, I mean, I didn't go. Like none of us engineers went. So I mean, there's multiple engineers on the Emmy submission, but yeah, it was for the augmented reality and virtual reality set that I built last year.
Okay, so everything has to change now. Our introduction has to change. It's now an Emmy award-winning broadcast engineer. Now all the information on our podcast, on our Twitter feed, on our website, it should say Emmy award-winning. Dude, that is like super big. I'm so excited for you. Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. Yeah,
I'm not going to cry.
I was excited about it. But
oh my God, you're going to have an Emmy in your house. Oh my God.
I will, yes, yeah.
That's crazy. You have to take pictures and put them on the website and or on Twitter. You have to.
Sure.
Even if it's just the Emmy. No, it's got to be you and the Emmy. You and
or else it
Steph
doesn't exist.
Because she's really,
or else it didn't happen, right?
Well, your wife is also pretty too, so it'd be good if she's in the picture too.
There we go.
So,
I can have her holding the Emmy. That'll be even better.
That'll be the best picture ever. Two of the most beautiful women in the world.
Oh, I think so. All right. Okay, so back to the task at hand here. We are going to go through our picks for the upcoming Oscars, and just very quickly, they've kind of gone back and forth. There was at one point not going to be certain things announced on the air. They were going to do these picks on, in commercial breaks. And the one that I was most like distraught about was cinematographer, but they've kind of rolled all that back. So now they're going to do all the awards on the telecast live in front of an audience and in front of, the televised audience. So that is nice because I think cinematography is pretty important, and some of those sound editing, sound mixing, those are important too. That's good. I'm glad that we're not going to have a kind of a neutered awards ceremony, so I'm glad about that. We're going to go through and we're going to talk about the big ones, but I know that Paul wants to talk about the best song category, so we're going to do like
first of all,
who we want to win and who we think will win.
Yeah, and I think we should do that just for the main top categories. We could talk about song, we could talk about cinematography and directing. I think I've seen most of everything, and I do have to say, side note, I'm not a conspiracist theory. What is that?
Conspiracy theorist. Wow, I can't even say it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, wow, that was interesting. I could hear it in my head, but it didn't come out of my mouth, which is not, I would blame it on being sick, but we all know that that's not true. I'm wondering if this was all planned from the beginning, to take things away and then to add things, to take things away and then to add it back, just to see, because it has caused a big controversy, and people are on Twitter. Oh my gosh. Movie Twitter is crazy. They're
Yeah.
vicious. I mean, I usually surround myself from around people who are pretty positive about this jaded world, and but Twitter world, woo, they are out for blood, and they went to town on this. I mean, I have been following very closely on Twitter the Oscar race, and it's interesting what people think. But I'm wondering, was this planned? Did they cause this controversy on purpose? It doesn't matter one way or another. I am blaming my theory on sickness because I don't think I would think that normally.
That sounds like something I would say.
Totally, right?
Yep.
And when I thought it, I was like, that's something Josh would say. But I'm wondering, and I'm thinking if they did do that, they're trying to stir up an audience of disgruntled people who are going to say, we're going to watch it anyway. Blah, blah, blah. It's ridiculous that cinematography and editing wouldn't be on the show. I mean, they are essential, if not the quintessential things that make film what they are. And we were talking about this off podcast. It is, those two things are inherent to film only. Everything else is borrowed from theater, everything. Nothing else is original except for cinematography and sound editing and mixing and all that stuff too, but film editing. And my understanding is that once they had the controversy going, that the Academy said, oh no, we've picked those 4 random categories and we're going to rotate those every year that are going to be off camera. You know what? It's not going to shorten the show. It's not going to make the show better. Show all 24, get in, get out, thank your mother, and get it over with, and then we're good. Okay, that said, song, I mean, there is no other song this year, is there? I mean, no disrespect to anybody who's nominated, because they are Academy Award nominees, but it is shallow. And if it's not shallow, there's a lot of strange things that are going to happen this year, but I don't think that's going to be one of them. I mean, everything else, there's a few locks that I can securely say, I think this is a lock. And I think this is the most secure lock that's out there. It is a tremendous song. Every time I hear it, I feel some kind of emotional reaction to it. Even my father said, have we seen that movie? And I said, I have. He said, should I see it? I said, sure. He goes, that song's got something. He's 81 years old, doesn't know who Lady Gaga, he says. He doesn't know who these people are. But that song, when they were advertising it for coming out on Blu-ray and all that other stuff, he saw an advertisement for it. And he was like, that song, what's with that song? And I was like, it's a pretty impressive song. And he even said, is that nominated for the Oscar? Which he never knows that stuff. Never. And right then and there, I was like, okay, it's a lock. Don't you think?
Well, I mean, that would be my pick, but there have been some smattering of talks about All the Stars from Black Panther, the Kendrick Lamar and SZA song.
Oh, yeah.
So, and especially since when we go through the rest of these, that may be a pocket where Black Panther could win an award. We'll go through some of these other ones that Black Panther is nominated for, but that could be an interesting, place to give Black Panther not only not only the nominations that it's been getting, but also to give it an award. So, I mean, we'll just have to see. I mean, there's a possibility that Bradley Cooper's directorial and writing debut could get shut out in the Oscars. You never know.
It's gotten shut out on every other thing so far.
Yeah.
But has won song for every award that it's possibly been nominated for.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I think it's a long shot for anything else.
Yeah, I think I agree. Okay, let's quickly go to cinematographer, the one that might not have been in the awards. So you've got Caleb Deschanel for Never Look Away, Lucas Zal for Cold War, Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, Robbie Ryan for The Favorite, and Matthew Libatique for A Star Is Born. So my pick, now I haven't seen Never Look Away and Cold War. I really wanted to see Cold War, but it's not going to be out like to stream or anything for like another month. And it's in the theaters, or it has been in the theaters like on and off here, but I just haven't been able to make it. So it looks really cool. And I haven't seen Ida, or I think it's Ida, IDA. That was Pavel Pawlikowski's previous film. in black and white and all that. So, I mean, this looks to be a similar look. So, I mean, I'm really interested in seeing both of those movies of his, and the trailer is looks really awesome for Cold War. So I can't say much, about that, but I'd say from the ones that I've seen, yeah, I think Alfonso Cuarón should win for Roma, which is funny because he wasn't even supposed to be the cinematographer. Chivo Emmanuel Lubetsky was supposed to be the cinematographer, but they went long in prep for Roma, and he had another commitment, so Cuarón just decided to do it himself. So, I mean, he had an assistant that kind of helped him out a little bit, but he's technically the cinematographer. So, what do you think?
No, I think I agree with you 100%. I haven't seen the the two that you haven't seen also. And Cold War never came here to Virginia. And as a matter of fact, I think it just came back to the theaters in Raleigh
Yeah.
just this week. And it's not streaming or anything, so I couldn't
No.
see it. So that's a shame because that usually is always the one that wins. We're not going to talk about foreign language film, but I believe that if that has a chance to win, that's where it's going to win. Roma is a beautiful looking movie. The substance he got out of black and white film is amazing. It's an amazing looking film. I've been looking at it here and there, not watching the whole thing again, just like little snippets of it. And it's just beautiful how he uses the sunlight in those realistic scenes and how you could tell it's golden on that beach and you could tell it's breezy and you can tell it's blue, but it's black and white. I don't know how somebody does that. So I don't know. The Favorite is a really good looking movie and it's because of the cinematographer. So, Robbie Ryan could win.
Yeah, it's a big swing. They're using like 7 millimeter lenses, not 70 millimeter, 7 millimeter lenses. They're extreme wide angle lenses. It's like Terry Gilliam world on some of those scenes. And we talked about that in our podcast of The Favorite, but it is a big swing. And I mean, they went for it. And I think that it sets itself apart. The cinematography sets that film apart. And some of the choices that Maddie Libatique made in A Star Is Born were interesting too. How they shot the stage, from the stage, all those things, close ups, the way that they were framing, especially the more intimate shots. We talked about some of those shots, those portrait shots of Lady Gaga, and I mean they all look beautiful. Obviously, that's why they're nominated. But I mean, for me, like I think Roma is far and away the winner for me.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So I forgot to tell you before the podcast that I wanted to talk about Best Documentary very quickly. So I've only seen one of them, and it's Minding the Gap. And that, that would be my pick, obviously, just from that, since that's the only one I've seen. But I think that Free Solo is probably going to win. That's the climbing movie, documentary about a guy who climbed the face of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park without ropes, and it's supposed to be. I've heard amazing things from a bunch of people, so I think that's Free Solo is probably going to win. But if you haven't seen Minding the Gap, it's awesome, and it gets a lot deeper than you might expect for seemingly initially you're kind of like, oh, this is just kind of like a fly on the wall skater movie, but it's not. It's a lot deeper.
Yeah, the documentaries are usually something that I see after the Oscars. Even if it's just nominated, it's something that I have a hard time catching when it's on. Well, they don't really come. Although, crazy enough, there's a place called the Narrow Expanded Cinema down here. It's a one-screen theater. It's where I grew up going and seeing all of the crazy stuff. We've talked about it before. They showed all of the short documentaries. They showed all the short animated films. They showed all of that stuff that you don't normally get to see. And it was either on a night that something happened in my life and couldn't go, or I was at work and I was like, I can't believe they're 10 minutes down the road. Normally have to like drive 45 minutes to Durham, or I went to Boston once and saw those. I didn't go to Boston to see the films, but they were playing when I was in Boston. Normally they're nowhere around here, but apparently this theater is all about those things. So it's exciting, disappointing that I missed it this year, but exciting knowing that if I am in this place next year, then I can make sure, that I have because I like to see those. I always feel like I'm at a loss when I haven't seen, oh, that one looks interesting. Oh, that clip is interesting. Oh, I'll go buy the clip. And we used to do this thing back in the day when we filled out our ballots, that we would wait to fill those out and say, okay, when you see the clip you think should win, put it down. And that would count if you won. Of course, you don't know anything based on a 30-second clip, but yeah.
Alamo Drafthouse is doing that too, playing all the short films and all of the short live action and the short animated films, which I think it's cool. It's great that I'm guessing at least one theater in each kind of larger metropolitan area is doing that, which is awesome that you can see all those.
Yeah, but that's a new thing.
Oh,
that's a new thing.
Okay.
Yeah, L.A. and New York, and I think Boston for the longest time, and like I said, Durham has been doing it. Yeah. But now it's become a thing.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, because that's saying that people are interested in filmmaking, regardless of whether or not you have a knowledge of what a short documentary film should be. But at least you have the chance to look at it and say, hey, this is my preference. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on to screenplays. We'll do best original screenplay first. And I have to say, I would not recommend doing what I did today. I woke up at 5 a.m. and I watched First Reformed from like 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. because I wanted to see it before I did this podcast. That was the only time I could do it. That was not good. So
You're killing me. You're hitting me with things that I'm not expecting. You're an Emmy Award winner, and you woke up to watch First Reformed, and I've seen it too.
Well, oh, good.
So I know exactly. Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
It's one of the films that I was telling you about that I watched when I was not feeling well. And my father's also not feeling well. So I was telling you that, half an hour downstairs, go up, watch the movie, come downstairs, check on my dad, go up and finish watching the movie. That was one of the ones that it was painful to pull myself away from, because I had to know what was going on.
Yeah.
It is one of the most original screenplays I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm glad that and maybe I'm in the glow of it, but there's two things I got from that movie. And number one is it is an amazing original screenplay. And number two is that I don't know enough about film, because I started digging into, like Paul Schrader's given interviews and things about First Reformed. And, there's all these references to filmmaking, other filmmakers, previous filmmakers, Tarkovsky and Carl Theodor Dreyer, and all of these guys who I've heard of before and seen like one of their movies, but not a bunch of them. And it's just like the vocabulary that somebody like Paul Schrader, that specifically Paul Schrader has, and other people like Paul Schrader have. He has the ability to like push that into an original idea and really give it time and energy and make you think. I mean, it's crazy. So that would be my pick for best original screenplay, but I think the favorite's going to win, which is great because, it's Yorgos Lanthimos. So,
well, what's ironic about that is that it's not Yorgos Lanthimos. He didn't.
Well, it's his movie.
Right. It's his movie, but this is one of the first times he's had another screenplay that he's directed. He usually writes his own screenplays, right?
Co-writes, yeah.
Okay. Well, but so I don't know if it's considered ironic, but the best original screenplay probably will go to Deborah Davis and Tony McNamara for the favorite, when we've talked in the past and you said that you doubted that Yorgos Lanthimos would ever be nominated per se for these major awards. Well, that's out the window, because now he's nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, blah, blah, blah. But yet the screenplay he didn't write, and yet that's the one that's probably going to win, which is crazy. I'm happy for those two screenwriters, because it's a crazy great script. I do have to say this about First Reform. I want to go back for just a split second. First Reform is so much of one thing. Don't judge a book by its cover. I thought it was just a movie about a priest or a reverend who was losing his faith, and he was the first reformed from the faith. But it's not. The First Reform is the name of the church, and it has nothing really to do about the church. I was just mesmerized that film went into the direction that it went into, and I think Ethan Hawke definitely puts in one of the best performances of the year, and I think it's one of the best movies of the year. But I think they're afraid of that film. I think people are afraid of that film, and I think they're afraid of his performance, because his performance is stunning.
Yeah.
Like, scary great.
Yeah.
And I think people are just afraid of it. They don't know what to make of it. It's like what Dogtooth was years ago to the Academy. This is what this is. And people will look back on it and wonder why Ethan Hawke wasn't nominated. It's because they're afraid of that film. And I get it, because there's something just off-putting about it in the best way, but it is unnerving, that film. I could not stop looking at it. And then after it was over with, I think I was like shuddering a little bit, like, what just happened? What just happened? What just happened? So it is a great screenplay. It's a great idea. It's a great way to make a point about something that you're not expecting to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting what I got. So that's great. But I do think it's going to go to the favorite.
Yeah, me too. And I will bring up Dogtooth was nominated for an Academy Award. So I don't know if the Academy was like shying away from it. They were
foreign language film.
Oh,
and just
I
that
gotcha.
Foreign language film. And that's a committee. And those people have to watch those movies, not the 6,000 people who, it's different. I just think people don't know what to make of that movie. And that is the best high holy compliment, and I'm using those words specifically, you could give to it. It is mesmerizingly interesting. Really interesting. I can't wait to tell all my friends that I know it's going to be a controversy if they watch it. I can't wait to say, when they go, what did you like this year? I'm going to say, you should see First Reform. I have a list of people I know it's going to flip them out, and I'm going to tell them just on purpose. I know that's bad. That's the sickness.
One thing I did notice when I was watching that movie First Reformed was that the people spoke in that movie not how people speak, especially not people in this current time in 2017, which is when it was set. So I think I had to get over that, but I felt like there was a certain amount of formalism with it that kind of set that apart and made the audience understand that this is a movie, this is a film, and this is not, this is a more formal exercise. It is an exercise in form of, these characters and this, the main character, Ethan Hawke's character specifically. So I'm usually really sensitive about that stuff, but I think it was done for a reason. So, that's some stuff that's hard to do, but I think, he did it right. So, all right, best adapted screenplay. We've got Black Klansman, If Beale Street Could Talk, Ballad of Buster Scruggs, A Star Is Born, and Can You Ever Forgive Me? I've seen all these except for Can You Ever Forgive Me, and that movie is downstairs right now because it just came out to rent today. So, I would say my pick would be, and this is a movie we haven't talked about yet, but I can't wait to talk about it, If Beale Street Could Talk. That would be my pick.
I can see why you said that. And here's where I'm going to mention this. This awards season has been very strange. Nothing has been sweeping per se, with the exception of Rami Malek. Nothing has considered like a statistic percentage lock, meaning this won the WGA, this won the PGA, this won the Golden Globe, this won the Screen Actors Guild. Sometimes those things line up, and then you can say, oh yeah, Argo won everything. No wonder it won Best Picture. No wonder it won everything that it won. This year, it's all over the place. As a matter of fact, Can You Ever Forgive Me just won the WGA. And I just watched it 2 hours ago. Superb. It's really well done. But I am more impressed with them than I am with the movie per se. But that's not the movie's fault. That has to do with the way the trailer's set up and the clips that you see. You see a lot of what you've already seen, a lot of stuff that's in the movie. So it's a little less exciting when it actually happens in the movie because you've already seen it in the trailer, or you've seen a clip of Richard E. Grant's performance and Melissa McCarthy's performance, and then all of a sudden you're watching the movie and you're like, oh, I recognize that. Oh, I've seen that. So it's not necessarily the screenplay. It's very well crafted. I think it's going to go to Spike Lee and his writing team. I think it's going to be, not to downplay anybody's name, but I am not in the mood to try to pronounce any of those people's names. No disrespect. I think it's going to go to Black Klansman. I think this is the Oscar that they're going to win.
I think it is too. So even though I would like for If Beale Street Could Talk to win, I think that Black Klansman, the screenwriters are Charlie Wachtell, David Rabinowitz, and Kevin Wilmot, and Spike Lee. It looks like it's two writer pairs. Kevin Wilmot and Spike Lee are a writer pair, and Charlie Wachtell and David Rabinowitz are a writer pair because of the way they use the ampersands and the word A&D.
Yeah, it's so the Writers Guild is weird about how they have to classify things and how they write people's names in and all that other stuff. It's a very strange thing. I think all of these are great. screenplays. There's when we talk about If Beale Street Could Talk, I don't want to diss on your choice, but there is some repetitiveness to that screenplay for me that I think could have been polished over a little bit. But that's really, 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 really just a small little observation and questions that I have about it. It's not an overall like it's padded or it's repeats itself over and over again. There are things in the screenplay though. For me, I thought he said at one point in the film. So I was like, why are we talking about that again? Or why are we learning about that again? And it might be how I was perceiving the film. But my question is, why was he doing that? And we can talk about that later on. It's not a criticism because I wouldn't criticize.
For me, it comes down to, there's like sets of scenes that really shine in that movie. And I think that's what bring that up for me. That's what that brings that movie up to the top of the heap. So, all right. So let's move on to Best Supporting Actor. We got Mahershala Ali in Green Book, Adam Driver in Black Klansman, Sam Rockwell in Vice, Sam Elliott in A Star Is Born, and Richard E. Grant in Can You Ever Forgive Me? So this is a lock, right? I mean, it's
the closest thing you're going to get this year.
Is him and you've just seen Can You Ever Forgive Me? But is Richard E. Grant as integral to that film as Mahershala Ali is to Green Book?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, he doesn't have as much screen time, if you will. But yeah, see, I used to classify the supporting actor and actress category as the character that if you took it out of the film, the main character story could still be told. And obviously you can't tell Green Book without Dr. Shirley's character. You just can't. And I'm not sure you can tell the story of Can You Ever Forgive Me without Richard E. Grant's character, but he does bring something so special to that movie that he seems like he's there all the time, even though he's not. And when he is there, it just pops and sizzles in such a different way. And let me tell you something about Melissa McCarthy. She is amazing in that film. So, okay, so who do you think will win and who would you vote for?
I would pick Mahershala Ali for both because I don't see how. I mean, I do like his performance, and I mean, I don't see how that movie could be that movie without his performance. Whereas, the Adam Driver character, I could see somebody else playing that. I mean, Sam Rockwell. I mean, he's in like 2 scenes, so I'm not really. I don't know. That seems like a weird rebound nomination, although you may prove me wrong or you may tell me wrong. But Sam Elliott did a great job too. But once again, I feel like this would be like a consolation award for him as opposed to an earned award. Although seeing him back out of the driveway, that's a powerful scene in that movie. Not consolation, as in like a career award, I guess that's the word I'm
See, that's more interesting to me that you said that you think it's a career Oscar nomination than it is that Sam Rockwell is what did you call that? Because he won last year.
Oh, like a rebound, not rebound. I don't know, like a proximity. Yeah, it's like,
totally.
Hey, Sam Rockwell, we heard of him last year. Didn't he just win? Oh yeah, he did. Okay.
And it happens all the time. But
I mean, it could be happening with Mahershala Ali too, but I think that he deserves it.
I think I disagree with everything you just said, because I don't think it's a career Oscar nomination for Sam Elliott. I think he's up there because his performance is stunning. I think, and I've supported and defended and will until the day I am dead, Sam Rockwell's performance in Vice. I think only he could have done it like that. Only he. I think it's more of a mimic. I think it's more than just an imitation. I think it is more than just him doing a Saturday Night Live skit about George W. Bush. It has some form of reality to it. Now, yes, he is buffoonish, but that's the thing they chose to say about him based on what they were trying to say about Dick Cheney. So I'm happy he was nominated. As a matter of fact, I think I said he would be.
You did.
And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I just don't say things like that because, it's a rebound, which is actually a good term for that. Watch, we're going to set a trend. I don't think it's a rebound, although there's a precedence for that, and it does happen. I think it's a really interesting performance, and so what? He's only in 3 scenes. Judi Dench is in 8 minutes of Shakespeare in Love, and she deserved that Oscar. So that said, Mahershala Ali will win his second Oscar, deservedly so. That is the most precise piece of acting I've seen all year. It is so precision and just etched out. Everything he does is character based and believable. And sometimes when you get that rigid, and I use the word rigid on purpose because that character is a little rigid, it becomes very caricature. And he doesn't. The way he is sitting in the car, the way he eats, the way he walks, the way he gets out of the car, there's precision in that, is so precise. I'm happy for him. I love it when somebody wins an Oscar a second time because a lot of people didn't really jive on the fact that he should have won for Moonlight. I can't figure that one out. But people are like, I don't know what he did in Moonlight to make him deserve an Oscar. Him getting a second nomination, him winning a second Oscar, somehow in people's minds, not mine, people's minds, validates his first win. So he will win, but I would vote for Sam Elliott. And I said it when we talked about A Star is Born. I said, I hope, remember I texted you, Sam Elliott, Sam Elliott, Sam Elliott. He blew me away. I'm glad he's had a career as long as he had 50 plus years. I'm glad that people are at least not acknowledging that he is a actor of Oscar caliber status, but he broke my heart. Out of everybody on this list, he broke my heart. And that backing out of the driveway scene is, I'm almost afraid to see the movie again because I don't want to go there again. I just don't. And my father's dying to see it now because he's got it stuck in his head. And we will watch it again. It's streaming, so we'll watch it. But it's just one of those performances. I can't see anybody else winning it, though, at this point. Here's why, on top of everything that we talked about. Green Book has caused a lot of controversy. And the reason why I think it's caused controversy is the obvious reasons that we don't need to even go into, that we sort of touched on before. And then I did a lot of education on, I educated myself on why people were having problems with this film. And I completely understand if they are valid reasons that people are saying, then I get why people are having a hard time with this movie. But when you put Green Book up against First Reform in an original screenplay nomination, there's just not even a choice. Green Book is not that quality. It's not that high caliber. But people want to honor this film because people genuinely like this film. Not Twitter, not movie Twitter world, hate it. Not as much as they hate Bohemian Rhapsody, but they hate this movie. I mean, but they really hate that movie. But they want to honor this movie. And Mahershala Ali is the perfect way to do it. But here's the thing. He deserves it on top of it.
I think that might tie into this next award, Best Supporting Actress. Rachel Weisz for The Favorite, Emma Stone for The Favorite, Amy Adams for Vice, and Marina de Tavira for Roma, and then last but not least, Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk. Now, I think Regina King's performance is awesome. And I think of all of these, even though I love Amy Adams, and I think that Amy Adams deserves an Academy Award, but I think that the performance that Regina King gave in If Beale Street Could Talk is something that you can see on screen. You experience what she's experiencing with her with immediacy. And I think these other characters, I think I do feel that emotion with the Marina de Tavira character, the mother in Roma. But I mean, comparing the two, those two performances is difficult for me, and I don't have the vocabulary to really speak about it intelligently. But I just felt more with Regina King, how Regina King portrayed her character, especially in a lot of those. Well, in all of the Puerto Rico scenes when she goes down to Puerto Rico, it's just devastating, and for her to have to be in that position and then have to go through what she goes through and just it's horrible. I mean, it shows a mother's love, and it shows a mother's dedication, and it also shows sorrow. So yeah, she would be my pick, and I think she's gonna win.
Well, I think you articulated that perfectly. That's exactly how I feel about it. Now, I have to say, as I've said before, I have a thing for Regina King. Not necessarily because she's a beautiful woman. That's not there per se for me, but so I didn't want it to sound like a thing, but I have a thing about her and acting, and I know that was weird. I have a thing about her and her acting. I have wondered for years why people are not catching on to this person. I was blown away that The Leftovers was not nominated for anything. I think maybe Connie Coons was nominated for, or Carrie Coons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carrie Coons was nominated for something, but nothing of the quote unquote major awards. But I was actually blown away that Regina King wasn't nominated for anything for The Leftovers. And then luckily she put in a lot of work that year and it all came out. And then she won 3 Emmys and now she's up for her first Oscar. So I don't know if I'm clearly objective about her, but man, even in that first scene she's in If Beale Street Could Talk, when she's putting the groceries away and she's kind of looking at her daughter from the side of her face, you can see that she knows instantaneously something's up with her daughter. Her daughter is not acting the way that her daughter normally acts. But yet, there's no judgment. There's no hesitation. There's no reservation. She's just very calmly, like, everything okay? And giving her daughter the chance to open up to her. And in that first scene, I started to choke up because I couldn't get over how real she was. But I'm not surprised because she's like that in everything she does, for me at least. And then the Puerto Rico scenes they're amazing. And, there's the big scene between her and the other female in Puerto Rico. And I'm sure that's the scene they're going to show at the Oscars, as well they should. And I will tear up. But that scene where she's getting ready and getting dressed.
With the wig and yeah. Mm.
Oh my gosh. How do you do that? I don't get it. I just don't, I can't put in my mind's eye how you do that. She said so much without saying anything.
And she's also looking directly into the camera, which has got to be horrible, I would think.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. I really can't. She's just hunkered down in that character, and she fulfills every quality that character needed. And really, I think the storytelling, of course, the story is about those two lovers, and of course about the female, her daughter, Regina King's daughter in the movie. But really, the story is being told through Regina King's eyes. Even though she's not in a lot of the movie, and that's to Barry Jenkins' craftsmanship as a director. He brings her in at certain points to let you know, yes, this is where the story's going. We're going to guide it through the mother. We're going to let you know what you're thinking and feeling is right by what the mother is thinking and feeling, or what you're thinking and feeling might be opposed to what the film is trying to tell you by what the mother is telling you. It's just really well done. But, and this is not my but, this is everybody's but. Statistically speaking, with Regina King not being nominated for the BAFTA, which I can understand because the BAFTA nominates British people too, because it's the British Film and Television Academy. But for her to not be nominated for the Screen Actors Guild Award is mind-blowing to me. And I was going to bring this up when we talked about If Beale Street Could Talk, but we haven't gotten to that podcast yet. I just can't put it in my mind's eye. If you're an actor and you saw that movie, If Beale Street Could Talk, and you saw that performance by Regina King, how could you not nominate her for the Screen Actors Guild? I don't understand it. I can't comprehend it. The reason why I bring that up is because statistically speaking, it's hard to win an Oscar without being nominated for one of those two awards and or winning one of those two awards, the BAFTA and the Screen Actors Guild. It's only happened twice. Marcia Gay Harden did not get a SAG award nomination and or a BAFTA award, and she won. Jennifer Connelly did not get a Screen Actors Guild or a BAFTA nomination, but that's really not part of this statistic either, because Jennifer Connelly was nominated for Best Actress that year for Beautiful Mind, but she won for Supporting Actress. So really, Marcia Gay Harden is the only person. I'm hoping and praying that Regina King knocks that statistic. That said, we have an interesting thing happening here where the same thing happened with Sylvester Stallone and Mark Rylance. Mark Rylance was not nominated, I think, for the Screen Actors, but won the BAFTA and then ended up winning the Oscar when Sylvester Stallone was the one winning everything up to that point. So Rachel Weisz is the one who won the BAFTA. So if it does happen, I loved Rachel Weisz in The Favorite. I love The Favorite, and I'll be kind of okay with it. But the bottom line comes to this. And there is this weird thing that happens where people do split votes. So the vote could go to Amy Adams, Rachel Weisz, Emma Stone, and Regina King, and they could split it 4 different ways. And Marina de Trevira could win the Oscar. It could happen, and deservedly so. This is my favorite category in the Oscars every year, and I think every single person in this category deserves it. There has been some dispute about Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone being supporting characters. I get it. But the bottom line for me is Regina King will win, and I would vote for her. Yeah. And I would vote for her 10 times over if I could.
All right. So Best Actor, we've got Bradley Cooper in A Star is Born, Christian Bale in Vice, Willem Dafoe in At Eternity's Gate, Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody, and Viggo Mortensen in Green Book. So for me, I think that Rami Malek will win because he's won a bunch of other awards. But I will say I haven't seen At Eternity's Gate. I know you have. I would say I would pick Christian Bale for this one because I have a lot of respect for what he does and his way of like getting into character, I guess. And I also feel like he, just from hearing some of the interviews with Christian Bale, but then also with Adam McKay, just seeing the process that he goes through and seeing how he was able to, like, I never saw Christian Bale in that movie. I only saw, that representation of Dick Cheney. So, I mean, I think that's huge. And I think that as far as like, imitations go, I mean, we're talking about like all of these characters except for Bradley Cooper's character are real people. And so, we have this interesting situation where there's a lot of, you determine whether it's imitation or whether it's mimicry or whatever. And I feel like Christian Bale didn't necessarily mimic Dick Cheney, but he kind of embodied the character of Dick Cheney that Adam McKay wrote. So, I mean, it was a great performance, and I would pick that over Rami Malek and everybody else. But Rami Malek will win.
I have to agree with you on the Rami Malek because he has won everything, by the way. Everything. Okay? So I'm going to try to condense this because I have sort of a lot to say about this. I think Rami Malek will win, but I think that if there's a surprise this year, well, actually, I was going to say that this is where the category it is, but I actually think it's going to be later on, so we'll talk about that later on. Anyway, Rami Malek will win, but I would vote for Bradley Cooper. Every time he's nominated for the Oscar, I've said I would vote for him. He's a soul crusher. That movie is amazing. He's amazing in it. He sings all his own songs. That'll get back to a point in just a second about Rami Malek. There's something so intensely real about his character. And I just saw a clip of when Lady Gaga lays down on the bar and she gets back up again. There's a look on his face where he's really not looking at her. He's kind of looking away, and then he realizes that he's been mesmerized by her, and that's why he's kind of daydreaming and kind of losing focus. And then he realizes, oh yeah, it's because of her I was daydreaming. There's just something so believable about that one look, and he has a million of those in this movie. It is really hard to be a sympathetic character after you urinate in your pants on the Grammys in front of the love of your life. It's hard. People should not like him. But when she says to him, it's not your fault, it's the disease, I could not believe that because of the way he just plays all of that. He's embarrassed and he's feeling like, I've ruined your career, or I've, embarrassed you in front of everybody. And without him being so ingrained in that character, all of the stuff that she does would seem pandering, and it would seem like that's just what somebody's supposed to say to the love of their life. But I honestly believe her because of how he's playing all that. He's mesmerizingly great in this film. Now, that said, and I totally get what you're saying about Christian Bale. I agree with you 100%. I could see why you would vote for him because he is immersed in that character. And now that I keep looking back in my mind's eye about that movie, I can't really see Christian Bale at all myself. I keep seeing Dick Cheney. As a matter of fact, I've seen pictures of Dick Cheney since then on different things. And I'm like, oh, is that Christian? Oh, no, that's Dick Cheney. I can't tell the difference immediately. That's amazing. And that's probably why it's going to win Best Makeup. And it should, but it has a lot to do. Yeah, it has a lot to do with his body posture and how you're right. He doesn't imitate. He is immersed in that character. So that's a good pick. Now, a lot of people, Twitter, are not liking Rami Malek. And it comes down to a couple of different things. They don't like that movie, and they don't like the fact that somebody's going to win an Oscar for imitating Freddie Mercury, lip syncing to his songs. I'm kind of twofold on that. I can understand why people say that, but when I was a kid and I was in my room and I was playing my Kiss records and I was imitating all 4 Kiss members, and I can really good, and singing with my broom handle, and I felt like I transcended into somebody else. So I think that that's a legitimate acting exercise. And I think that's a legitimate thing, that if you can make people believe you're actually lip syncing to somebody else's music, then that's impressive to me. So I don't think that's a valid reason for not liking Rami Malek's performance. The other side to that is that I don't know if there's enough in that movie from Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury that makes me go, that's Oscar worthy. There's something missing, and I don't know if it's the film, and I'm going to see the movie again, and I almost saw it again 2 nights ago, but I ended up watching something else. But I just need to see if there is that thing in there that makes him Oscar worthy. Here's why I hope he does win, and this is such a personal reason, because I cannot imagine as an actor winning every single award and getting to Oscar night and not winning. I can't understand how, I don't know how you would deal with that as a human being. And really, it's an Oscar. It's not going to make or break the world. It's not going to stop the world from spinning around, but it would be so devastating to win every single award and then not win the Oscar. Like, I can't imagine where your frame of mind would be. I'm not saying that's a reason why somebody should win an Oscar, but he's won everything up to this point. If he doesn't win, first of all, it'll be mind-blowing, and it'll blow all the statistics and all the percentage and all the way that people try to predict the Oscars out of the water. They will refer to it for the rest of our lives. The year that Rami Malek won everything but didn't win the Oscar. And there is a chance he might not win. There has been a backlash for that film. Mm-hmm. And the 6,000 people that vote for the Academy are different than the thousands of actors that vote for the Screen Actors Guild and the BAFTA and all that other stuff. It's highly unlikely he won't win. But for me personally, I'll feel really bad for him if he doesn't. I can't imagine it. Benicio del Toro said it the best. He walked into Oscar night going, I'm winning. He sat down in the chair and he's like, oh my God, I'm not going to win. They were getting ready to call his category, and he's like, I'm getting ready to win an Oscar. And then as they were calling the names, he's like, oh my God, I'm not going to win, because you never know until the name is called. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, that's, evident, because I just went through all of this craziness thinking I wasn't, then I was. So you never know. So I'm sure Rami Malek is going through that. But once again, I'll feel bad for him. I know that's kind of silly, but it's got to be encouraging, and it's got to be uplifting to win these kind of awards, and especially like the Screen Actors. Those are your peers saying you did something special. And I think he does do something special. I was touched by his performance, but I just have this, and it might be Twitter and movie Twitter that has put this doubt in my mind. But I think the doubt was there before, because we talked about this when we talked about Bohemian Rhapsody. So Rami Malek will win. Bradley Cooper, I would vote for.
All right, so Best Actress, we've got Olivia Colman for The Favorite, Yalitza Aparicio for Roma, Lady Gaga for A Star is Born, Glenn Close in The Wife, and Melissa McCarthy in Can You Ever Forgive Me? So for me, sounds like Glenn Close is going to win, but I think it would be great if Olivia Colman won, because also because I'm not sure where the Favorite's going to get love. Probably in Best Original Screenplay, but Olivia Colman, I've seen her in a bunch of things, like even in, and we talked about this in The Favorite, like I saw her in like these British comedy shows like Bo and that Mitchell and Webb look. I mean, she did like skit shows, and she's kind of worked her way up and through, different jobs, and now she's to the point where she's getting nominations for a great performance. So the other that I haven't seen, can you ever forgive me? But in Roma, you've got a first time actress who didn't even want to be in a movie when she went, with a friend, I think, or something to a nom or to
Her sister.
or her sister. That's right. Yeah. Geez. So I mean, that's just crazy. And then Lady Gaga also. I mean, I mean, she's obviously been in public, but she has never been the star of a movie before. And she put in a solid performance too. But seeing the nuance that Olivia Colman gave in her performance, how she was able to be serious and comedic and sad and connected, I thought it was great. Now I have seen The Wife recently, and I don't think I have enough acting knowledge to understand what Glenn Close is doing, because it looks like it's probably good, but I don't know if I see the gravitas that other people are seeing. And I also, I also feel like maybe I'm in the same camp with Ethan Hawke. I know a lot of people are saying Ethan Hawke missed a best actor nomination, and I know what he's doing is difficult, but I can't contextualize that. I can't put that into words or into even like feelings. I feel like they're working on a higher level, but for me it doesn't necessarily translate to like, this is an amazing performance. Like, I think there are certain scenes, especially in First Reformed, where because that First Reformed performance for Ethan Hawke is so closed in and it's so internalized. We do have the dialogue, his narration, but his body language is so internalized, and it's so kind of like we hear what he's thinking, but then we see what he's doing, and a lot of times they're completely opposite. It's got to be really difficult. And same thing with Glenn Close. What's going on in this movie, like pretty much from the beginning of the movie, but they don't necessarily reveal until later. But I feel like there was not as much dynamism in her performance, but maybe that's what's good about it. I don't know. It's hard. I just can't.
I think you got to give yourself a break, though.
Yeah.
You got to give yourself a break, because when you listen back, when you edit the show, just listen to what you just said. You clearly articulated why you thought Glenn Close was interesting and why Ethan Hawke was interesting. Just because they're not as dynamic per se as other performances, you said Glenn Close, you know what's happening from the beginning of this film. Without her performance, you wouldn't know that. Yeah. Ethan Hawke, because of his restrained performance, his journals, it's not a narration, it's his journals that he's writing in. And what he's saying in his journal are completely different than what he is saying as a human being outside. But that's the key to that character. What you see, once again, don't judge a book by its cover. So you completely articulated that. You kind of got to give yourself some credit, because actually, I don't think you can ever really articulate what it is about a performance that makes it an Oscar-nominated performance. It's about what you thought and felt while you were watching the movie. And clearly, both Glenn Close and Ethan Hawke did that for you, because you were able to say, this happened, and this happened because of what you saw in their performance. So that's what it is. That's the best way to articulate it. Just because it's not as over the top or comical in a way as Olivia Colman comes across, or as, I know you haven't seen Melissa McCarthy's, but it's a very explosively contained performance. Really good. Ooh, wow. It's really good. I had a hard time recognizing her, and I love her. And I have loved her since the Gilmore Girls, and I am owning the fact that I fell in love with that show, and that has spawned some talented people, and she's now a 2-time Academy Award nominee, and I've loved her from the beginning. Take that, world. But I think you articulated it fine. I understand your reservations about The Wife. Somebody called it a Lifetime movie. I wouldn't go that far. The haters on Twitter, boy, can they articulate what they don't like about movies. It's interesting. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure when it was, but somewhere on one of those movie threads, somebody went, well, that's good to know what you don't like about it, but what do you like? Like, why do you watch movies? If you hate all of this stuff, what did you like? And the person responded, eighth grade. And I was like, okay, that's a good answer,
Well,
because that's a really good movie.
See, when you critique something, it's safe, and when you champion something, you're being vulnerable, because you're opening yourself up to other people criticizing it. Whereas if you're the one doing the criticizing, that's a safe place to be at.
And I guess maybe because of having an acting background, I'm used to it. I'm used to knowing that it scares the hell out of me, and I will lose some sleep over a review coming out. And luckily, people have been very kind to me in the past, so it's a little bit easier. But it's still, it doesn't stop you from wanting to put yourself out there. If it did, then I wouldn't do it. But I think you're exactly right. I think it is difficult to say, I love this, and this is why. And because people, it's so much easier to be negative, because it's just easier. I'm not saying it's lazy, but it just seems to be easier to say, I hate this because this, and this. But what you're touched by and what you feel when you watch a movie is why I watch movies. So that's how I base my opinions and my questions on things, not necessarily criticism, because I'm not a film critic and we're not film critics. We don't have that language. I probably couldn't do a blog. I don't have enough words in my bookcase. I don't have enough knowledge of what makes a cinematographer a great cinematographer. I just know what I felt. And I know when I watched Roma, that beach looked like a golden sunshine, and I felt the blue of the waves, and I felt that stuff. So that's what I go by. Okay, so this is, in my opinion, this year, this is the best category when it comes to everybody really deserves it. I'm not saying anybody in other categories don't deserve it, but everybody in the best actress category really are great. And everybody's talking about Glenn Close winning because it's a career Oscar, and that's a shame, because it's a really, really intensely focused performance. And I enjoyed the movie, and I enjoyed her, and I get why people are flipping out about her. I get it. To be restrained and to hold that knowledge when she's at the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony, it's so exhausting to watch her hold back years of what you find out later on is happening. And you can see, feel, and just taste that why she's watching. And she says nothing. She speaks just that one line. Well, actually, that's at the dinner. But at that ceremony, you can see it. You would just need to watch that one scene and know something's not right in these people's lives. Why does that woman look like she should be the one up there? What's up with this? And so for that, she's amazing. So I will say this. I think I would vote for Olivia Colman, and I actually think Olivia Colman will win.
Really?
I do. There is something just one step further in what she had to do than, well, I wouldn't go that far to say that, because everybody else on this list is pretty great. But there's just some sense to me that, see, everybody's talking about everything but Glenn Close's performance. They're talking about the Academy is not going to want her to go 7 nominations, and she's 71 years old, and they don't want her to go like Peter O'Toole without an Oscar. That is not a reason to give somebody an Oscar. Richard Burton didn't win an Oscar. Peter O'Toole didn't win an Oscar. It's just, that's not a reason to give somebody an Oscar. And if Glenn Close does win, I'll be content and happy with it, because she deserves it. But for some reason in the back of my head, I think Olivia Colman will win, and I would vote for her.
That is a cool pick. Let's go to Best Director. We've got Yorgos Lanthimos for The Favorite, Adam McKay for Vice, Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, Spike Lee for Black Klansman, and Pavel Pawlikowski for Cold War. I got Pavel Pawlikowski right, and I got Cold War wrong. That's bad.
Welcome to my world, dude. Welcome to my world.
I've also been up since 5 a.m. and I saw First Reform today, so you're going to have to give me a little bit of slack.
Yes, I give you slack because I do it all the time. Those are interesting vowel and consonant sounds to say all together, and cold and war and world war is hard to say, period.
Guess I
So,
never thought of that. Well, so this one I think is going to be easy for me because I think that Alfonso Cuarón will win for Roma, and I think he should win for Roma because it is a. I mean, this is the award that I think Roma deserves the most because it's a singular vision. You know, he not only came up with the story, wrote the script, whatever script there was, I guess, and he directed it, he shot it, he edited it. I mean, this is his film. It's about his life. I mean, it's based on his life too, and I think that it is a self-contained, piece that is transformative and it's an informative. It tells you about. It tells me about a period of time and a place that I knew nothing about, but it grounds it in focusing on a single family and and a single person within that family who happened to be the nanny, I guess, or the person who was very important and integral to the lives of the kids of that family, and also was there for the wife, and the family was also there for her. So I mean, it's a great film, and I think that he deserves this Oscar.
well, I look at it, I completely agree 100% with what you said. But I come at it in a different way. I keep saying to myself, if not him, then who? Like, who would it be? If not him, then who would it be? And that's hard to say because, all four of the other guys made great. Well, I didn't see Cold War. I will. But from what I understand, it's a great movie. And when a director gets a nomination and the picture doesn't get nominated, it says a lot. It says a lot.
Mm.
Julian Schnabel got nominated for Diving Bell and the Butterfly, but the picture was not nominated. And I think he was the only nomination. And I think is it Tony Scott who directed Black Hawk Down or
Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott? Ridley Scott. He got a nomination without getting anything else, nothing else from the film, if I remember correctly. I think it got some visual effect things. So it says a lot about a director that his nomination can stand on its own. Now, I'm also interested in knowing statistically, has any director ever won for best director when his picture wasn't nominated? I don't think so.
Mm.
I think a picture has won when a director wasn't nominated. That's obvious.
Yeah,
Argo.
Argo.
And yeah, that's the big one in our recent time. So if not Alfonso Cuarón, then who? But the other things are that, okay, he made a movie that was near to impossible on paper, statistically ready to fly. It's a black and white foreign language film released by Netflix. And, it's a single director's vision, like you said, writer, director, cinematography. Who does that? And who gets away with it? And he did it in a beautiful manner. That said, they say that 90% of a director's job is casting. And he got something out of Yalitza Aparicio. I knew I was going to mess it up. Yalitza Aparicio. I was practicing and I knew I was going to mess it up, but I got it, at least for me. Who can get a performance like that out of an actor who's never been on film before? And to trust yourself when you see the character in that actress or that person is really a tough thing. Like no experience. You have to explain everything to her, I'm sure. Like, she could be a natural. She could have just taken to it like a fish to water. Who knows? But it's really a tremendous thing to cast a person who's never been in a film before. And obviously, she's nominated for Best Actress, deservedly so, because she's brilliant. And we talked about how brilliant she is in that one scene. Well, the two big scenes, the birth scene and then the mob scene. And to trust yourself as a director to cast the person is the right person for the role is a tough thing to do. You would want somebody with experience. You would want somebody who knows the language of film. You would want that, but he didn't. He went with somebody who doesn't know any of that because he saw something in her. So for those reasons, I think he will win Best Director. Side note, because of Twitter, there's a mini controversy going on about him because he came out and said, you know what, it's no fun being nominated because of all this like stuff you got to go through, all of this campaigning, and it's become a political thing, and it's not necessarily about the love of film. It's about campaigning to be the best director. He said, I hate that. And of course, Twitter went crazy. They were like, oh my God. They didn't go crazy on him. They were kind to him. They were like, I hope that doesn't ruin his chances of being best director. Listen, if I was on the fence about who I thought was going to be best director, I might be swung to vote for him because he was honest about this process. And I like honesty. So I'm hoping that doesn't hurt him. But then comes the question, if not him, then who? Spike Lee wins his best directing Oscar and takes it for Black Klansman. I'm okay with that. Yorgos Lanthimos wins a best. I will never, ever let you live that down, that you said that you thought he would never win an Oscar or never be nominated or whatever you said. You said something about not getting Oscar love about Yorgos Lanthimos. I'll be like, he won best director over the person who was statistically supposed to win. I don't think it'll happen. So, and if I had to vote, I would vote for Alfonso Cuarón because it just is a masterful film. It's just extremely delicate and intricate storytelling at its best. And, listen to our podcast on it.
All right, so on to the last category, Best Picture. We got Roma, Green Book, A Star is Born, Black Panther, Black Klansman, The Favorite, Vice, and Bohemian Rhapsody. I would pick Roma. I know that you're saying it's probably going to win Best Foreign Film, which I guess by some weird calculation of Academy voters would mean that they wouldn't vote for it for Best Picture, I guess. I don't think it's going to be Green Book, although that won the PGA, right? Mm-hmm. So I am trying to figure out what it would be. I just don't. It probably wouldn't be Bohemian Rhapsody. I could see Black Klansman or The Favorite, but I don't know. I think it should be Roma, and I really don't know what's going to win Best Picture. I'm not sure. I don't think I have the calculus correct on this Best Picture.
Nobody does.
Yeah,
nobody does. They're all over the board with this one. This is the hardest year I've ever seen to predict the Oscars because nothing, statistic, percentage, and then finally somebody said, my last reference to Twitter, I promise. Somebody said, well, maybe we should follow our hearts and vote with our hearts and not our percentage and statistics. And I'm like, welcome to my world, people. Where have you been? But I don't tweet that stuff because it won't be heard the way that I mean it. I mean it in tongue in cheek and I mean it with a big heart. But vote for your favorite movie. Vote for the movie you think should be Best Picture. Okay, so you're saying Roma will win and Roma you would vote for?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I will say this. If Cold War wins Best Foreign Language Film, Roma will win Best Picture.
Mm.
If Roma wins Best Foreign Language Film, there's a chance it won't win Best Picture. Okay? But if Roma wins Best Foreign Language Film and Best Film, that just blows everybody's statistics out of the water. They were wondering if that could ever happen. Mm. And let me also say this, and we talked about this.
Well, hold on. Why is that not a possibility? Like, why does that not make sense?
Because people are thinking, just like you vote for Mahershala Ali because you really loved his performance, but you also get to honor Green Book, then you won't vote for Green Book as picture.
That's so you're not voting for Best Picture. You're just voting for a person to get an award or a thing or a film to get an award. That's what you're voting for. Like if Roma wins Best Picture.
You have been around the Oscars for a while, right?
I know, but I just mean like from a logical standpoint, if Roma wins Best Picture, there's no way it cannot win Best Foreign Film. There's no way. Logically.
Well,
I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but I understand what you're saying, but I just mean like it just kind of shows the kind of like behind the scenes machinations of the Oscars.
Yeah, we talked about how can Argo win Best Picture and the director not even be nominated. And that's happened a couple of times. Driving Miss Daisy. It's happened a couple of times. And we've also talked about this in the past where I read that article about a producer or screenwriter who was like, I'm voting for her to block her because I don't like her. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? But that's people. That's human beings. I mean, people suck. Okay. I love people. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to these things, people can be hardcore. And I don't mean that's the sickness talking. I'm going to give that the credit to the sickness. But people are just like they're vicious, mean, cruel eighth graders who want to pull your hair and then act like they like you. I mean, that's just the world we live in. You know, Meryl Streep, I think, is the one who said Hollywood is just grown-ups or high school with money. And, okay, That makes perfect sense to me. You and I are talking about it from a different point of view. So to say if a director is not nominated and a picture wins anyway, that blows out of the water what I was just saying, meaning what you were just saying. Why wouldn't it win Best Foreign Language if it won Best Picture? Well, why would a Best Picture win if a Best Director wasn't even nominated? So you could go around and around and around. Here's the thing I'll say. Like I said, Cold War wins Best Foreign Language Picture. Roma will win Best Picture. I would love to see it win Best Foreign Language Film and Best Picture, Roma, because statistically speaking, it's never happened before. And also, nobody is talking about it being a black and white film, foreign language, released on Netflix. Some people are, but not really. Remember Beasts of No Nation?
Yeah.
We couldn't possibly nominate that because it was a Netflix film. And now, 5 years later, it's not a big issue. Well, we've talked about this, I think. The Artist, it was the first black and white film since Schindler's List. Schindler's List was the first black and white film since blah, blah, blah. Now that's not an issue. It's not an issue that it's a foreign language film. And I think it's the first film to win Best Picture if Roma wins. That's a foreign language film. But it's not hurting its chances is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. So here's what I'm going to say. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I think this is where the big surprise is going to happen.
Huh.
I think people are going to be jaw dropped. There is something instinctually inside me saying A Star is Born is going to win. Just because of all of those other reasons, director, cinematographer, best foreign language film is all going to Roma. And all of a sudden, in the last 4 months, no one's given Star is Born love. But nobody talks about that film as if they didn't love it. So where are all these people that love it? And I just think it would be, now this might be more wanting than actually knowing it's going to happen somewhere in my head. Maybe I want this to happen. It would be such a shock that A Star is Born wins nothing. This whole entire derby, this whole entire season, and then all of a sudden ends up winning Best Picture. And anybody who looks me in the eye can't tell me A Star is Born doesn't deserve it. It is one of the best pictures of the year. That said, just the feeling I have. I think Roma will win, okay? I'm saying that I think A Star is Born is the surprise, and most people are like, what? What are you talking about? That would never happen. When we talked about La La Land, I said, La La Land probably will win, but watch out for Moonlight. There's something coming with that. And that's recorded. So it's not like I can look back and just say I said it. It's actually recorded. And then something did happen. A crazy thing happened. I didn't know that was going to happen. And there's no way you could know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's a feeling about this. But for the record, I'll say Roma will win. I would vote for A Star is Born.
All right. Wow. That's cool. That would be neat. All right. I will just, since we're like finishing up here, I'll bring up a couple other things that we didn't really talk about. I'm not going to necessarily do picks on them, but best score. I would say if you want to listen to like a kind of a really cool score, something to have on in the background, if Beale Street Could Talk has an amazing score and it did get nominated, and the other score that I wish would have been nominated but didn't get nominated was First Man, Justin Hurwitz's score from First Man. And I guess I should give Nicholas Bertel credit also for If Beale Street Could Talk, because both of those scores for me like are scores that I've listened to, past the movie, and that they really kind of, bring the movie back into my view when I'm listening to them, which I think is a huge, that's a huge compliment for any score. So those, you should definitely check those out if you have a chance. I did a pretty good job this year. You normally like knock it out of the park watching all these movies, but I feel like I've only got like, one or two movies that I haven't seen. So, and I've seen all the Best Pictures nominees, so that's good.
Can You Ever Forgive Me is downstairs. So technically speaking, you're 10 feet away from it and you're going to watch it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to change any of your opinions, but I think you are going to be blown away by those two. And a lot of people, not to bring it up again, a lot of people are saying that Richard E. Grant is getting a lot of love and that there's a surprise win coming for that. I don't see it. If he won it, he would deserve it. But I can't say that, the 5 people who were nominated, if they won, they deserve it. They're nominated. Obviously, they deserve it if they win. You know what I mean? It's hard to say. But I think that you're going to enjoy that movie, and I think you're going to understand why they're getting the praise that they are.
Cool. All right. Well, you can check us out on the web at actorandengineer.com. You can go to facebook.com/actorandengineer. You can tweet us at actorengineer. And if you want, you can give us a review on iTunes or, Apple Podcasts. That really helps us out. And we'll see you next time.